Namaskar. At this moment of time, our hearts go out to all the people who died in these attacks by Hamas in Israel, our brothers and sisters of Israel. We stand by you in this moment of crisis, and it's very unfortunate the kind of pictures that are coming through, the kinds of videos that are coming through. It really breaks one's heart. So we're going to share with you what the data we have thus far. A lot of things are still changing. 40 people killed in Israel. 50 at least have been taken hostage in a border town, and a lot of other stuff that is still not being accounted for. So this is not something, this is the 26/11 moment for Israel. If I have to draw some sort of a parallel, only much worse. So we will talk about this for a few minutes and then we'll go into Indian politics. So first, let's welcome our guest of the evening, Shekhar Iyer ji. Shekhar ji, namaskar and welcome to P Guru's channel.
Namaskar, Sree Iyer ji, namaskar.
Shekhar ji, so we've been seeing some gory pictures. I've tweeted about it, and it is surprising that the United States kept so quiet, and then finally, suddenly they said now, about an hour ago, that they stand with Israel. On the other hand, Narendra Modi had immediately said that we stand with Israel, we support Israel at this moment of need. Sir, what really is people should be asking is, how did 5,000 rockets get into Hamas? And instead of saying that this is a massive intelligence failure on part of Israel, is there something else that happened that made them not look at a particular instance? For instance, which country gets a lot of imports? Any country in the world today gets a lot of imports. So is there a China hand in this? Remember that China and Hamas signed a deal of cooperation on July 15th, just a few months ago. Is there some connection like this? Because people are saying that this is Iran doing it. I'm kind of a little skeptical. Israel knows about Iran. Israel knows about what Iran can do. It's a known place. And I'm sure that they would have had their hands on them. So, and eyes on them. So what exactly happened? Shekhar ji, your preliminary analysis, sir. Remember also, viewers, that is in United States released $6 billion to Iran recently. And there is this ongoing talk about, allowing Iran to rejoin the world economic order and so on and so forth. Shekhar ji, I'll leave the floor to you. This is all I know at this point of time. It's horrific. Now people will say, oh, but what about the 200 people killed in Hamas? See, it's a retaliation, and that's just beginning. And what you have to see is how they went about attacking. We've seen them, just going and randomly shooting at houses and shooting through windows. It's just horrific, sir. That's all I can say.
Thank you, Sree Iyer ji. Indeed, the visuals that are coming from Gaza Strip is very, very disturbing. And in New Delhi, particularly, the government of India has noted these developments with a great deal of concern because Israel is a good friend. India and Israel have a long-standing agreement on defense cooperation and involving sharing of technology and things like that. And I understand, in fact, we are looking at a scenario, but what if such a thing were to happen in India? Suppose suddenly you find thousands of missiles being fired from across the border, any of the borders. In that case, what would be a response? I've been told that our security establishment has gone on a very, very high alert, though these are not connected to events in what's happening in Gaza Strip or in Israel. But nevertheless, this is being described as the third Intifada. And we know that the second Intifada inspired those 10 stone pelting mobs in Jammu and Kashmir, which were finally eliminated following the removal of Article 370. Otherwise, there were terrible tragedy unfolding every time when the stones would be pelted at security forces and there would be cascading events. So our concern is rather very, very direct and very, very close to understanding our own situation, whether we are not looking at everything that we should be looking at. Hope we are not getting complacent because this is also the start of the festival season with the beginning of Navratri, which will go up to Deepavali or Diwali, and then it will go on to the year end celebrations, beginning with Christmas. So there is a lot of concern in the security establishment. Yes, Prime Minister Modi was the first to react. He has already tweeted saying that India is standing by Israel in this horrible terrorist attack. India has not minced words. Prime Minister has not minced word that we consider this as a terrorist attack. Now, this is easy for people with left liberal view or with the yoke ideas to look at the Palestinian issue about occupation of Gaza Strip, then subsequently the settlement problem. There's a lot of other things, but the fact remains that Israel, being such a country that has always, right from its birth in 1948 till today, it has never had a moment of period where it could say it could lower its guard. But despite that, what has happened to the system in Israel? Did the technology fail, or as you mentioned, some of the components were compromised? Because the latest news that is coming in is that at the Gaza security, particularly at the gates, it seems they were jammed, so they could not detect for the last 48 hours. They could not detect movement of anything that was happening there. But obviously, if it is, of course, Hamas is claiming 5,000 missiles were fired, but a conservative estimate is it could be anywhere between 2,000 to 3,000. Now, 2,000 to 3,000 to be fired from a small strip of land like Gaza. I mean, it shows the kind of preparations that have gone in, the kind of things that has been going on for some time, and the Israeli authorities are taken by surprise. There are hard lessons for us that technology is a no guarantor of a foolproof surveillance, a foolproof watchdog, because the same thing we have been also inducting a lot of the Israeli technology in our surveillance, in our satellite systems, in our the things we do to keep a watch on our borders. Now, with this development, I gather that top security officials have, in fact, briefed the Prime Minister as to how we should be ready for this kind of, even if it were to happen. And definitely the responses that people are expecting from Israel, because the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu has himself said this is something that Hamas is going to, regret for many months and years to come. Now, what kind of uh, retaliatory measures that Israel would take is a different thing. Now, there is the other side to it, the humanitarian side. Let me speak from the India angle. There are some 26 persons from Meghalaya who had gone to Bethlehem to visit the holy sites, and they are seems to be stranded because Air India has cancelled its Tel Aviv Delhi flights as well as Delhi Tel Aviv flights. So there could be more. I mean, this is just from one state, Meghalaya. There could be many more people who would have been visiting the Jerusalem, Bethlehem. These are considered very, very historically and religiously very significant sites, which attracts a lot of believers from India going year after year. And so, therefore, there are other concerns. At the same time, there is also an unfolding story in Gaza, because we mentioned about kidnappings, where a lot of Jewish settlers, Israeli troops, Israeli soldiers, and officers have been taken into custody as sort of a kidnapped, so that they could be used as a bargaining chip, because Hamas has done before. It invariably uses captured Israeli soldiers in exchange for release of hardcore Hamas persons who are held in Israeli jails. There are several fallouts to this whole thing that has happened today, because this is considered unprecedented. I mean, in fact, even this is an understatement. Never has this kind of thing happened in Israel. We are not getting into the Israeli policy towards settlement and how the Israelis, how the Palestinian issue has lingered for too long, because whenever a solution has been thought of, it has not happened. But at the same time, this development has come at a time when we are hearing about Saudi Arabia and Israel are just about to announce a beginning of a new era in their relationship. Whether this whole thing has happened to sabotage that, and who could be interested in spoiling a beginning of a new relationship between Saudi Arabia and Israel, these questions are being asked. Now, the other thing is the escalation of this, whatever is happening, because anytime people are expecting that Hezbollah, which is on the northern side, could start doing a similar kind of terrorist attacks on Israel from Beirut and Lebanon, in which case Israel would have several frontiers open, and there could be more and more military action, and that could see lot of people dying, and that is something very unfortunate because uh, from whatever we gather now, that maybe in another 24 hours you could hear there could be waves of air bombing or even worse happening. Shayarji.
Thank you so much, Shekhar ji. And also, the space between China and Taiwan has become very active. Lots of airplanes flying over are very close, and many more being readied. It's sort of like a saber rattling, only at a much higher degree by the Chinese, which is why I'm kind of inclined to believe that there is more there going than meets the eye. So we have to wait and see how this plays out. The most distressing thing here is Israel is supposed to have a sixth and a seventh sense, that they could smoke out these things in no time at all. And this is not the first time that Israel has been attacked on a national holiday. Today was a national holiday, Shabbat. And if you remember the 6-day Yom Kippur War, it was also started on Yom Kippur Day, when people stay at home and reflect. So many people were caught at home. So whoever or whatever the territories that Hamas surprised Israel with, they came in, and once they started seeing that there's not much traffic on the streets, they started taking to homes, and they started firing indiscriminately inside homes, and all automatic gunfire. Where did they get so many automatic guns? And it's just, they may have some grouses against Israel, but this is not the way to go about showing it. I think Hamas has crossed a line. I have a feeling that this is the beginning of the end. If not, Israel is probably going to go after them ham and talks. I don't know what the shape of Gaza will be after this is done. This is really, really serious. That's all I can say, Shekhar-ji. If you want to add something, please feel free, sir. Then we can go to the next topic.
No, the latest reports are that there are actually street fighting going on between Israeli troops who have moved into the area and the Hamas guerrillas. So there is actual street fighting going on. So you can imagine, we have already been gripped by whatever has been happening in Ukraine, Ukraine-Russia war, and the impact on the oil prices and things. So far, the countries have both the oil producing countries as well as oil importing countries have been trying to negotiate a deal so that the prices are in control. Now the first worry for countries like India is to what could be the fallout on the oil prices if this were to escalate. Now suppose if Israel decides, because invariably in this kind of thing there will be a disproportionate retaliatory response. So will that mean, will Israel straight away start engaging Iran itself? That's another question that's in everybody's mind. In which case, what happens? Then what happens to even the talks that have been supposed to have been going on between Saudi Arabia and Iran? Now, obviously, whoever has triggered this has looked at the changing scenario in the West Asia. There is definitely, because we have been hearing about, just as Israel and Egypt, came together after the Camp David talks. Similarly, we have been hearing about things opening up between Saudi Arabia and Iran, and of course, Saudi Arabia and Israel were about to announce a major breakthrough in the diplomatic, breaking of the ice. Now, if these are upsetting those forces, obviously these forces are not just Hamas. They have to be much bigger powers who are interested in status quo. I think those are going to shape out. And for us in India, that's what the Prime Minister is concerned about. One, to what extent can terrorists go? This is one. And two, the surprise element involved in this kind of thing. And number three, what could be the fallout? These are the three things that our Cabinet Committee on Security is studying. Our National Security Advisor and his team are, looking at all the inputs that are coming. And we don't want such a nasty surprise on our soil.
Sir, there are also allegations that Islamic Jihad is also participating in this. And we have to wait and see if that confirmation comes through for that. But again, in 24 hours, you'll know what exactly is happening. Also, we must touch upon what happened in Pakistan a few hours ago, yesterday, I should say. on Dera Ghazi Khan? What is the output from there? Is there a nuclear fallout? Is there a radiation going on? We don't have update on that at this point of time because this has taken over the airwaves, but we will give you that update as soon as we have it. Sir, now let's move on
Sree
to
Iyer ji,
domestic. Yeah,
yeah, I just
go
want
ahead,
to
sir.
add a bit on the Dera Ghazi Khan because Pakistan military authorities have issued official statements saying this was actually a sonic boom, and this was some Pakistan Air Force jets, crossing the sound barrier. That's why it happened. But then that does not explain why ambulances and bomb disposal squads, scurry to that place. If this is the reason, so there are a lot of things that have not been explained by this thing. But for the last 24 hours we have had several explanations being given by Pakistan civil authorities as well as military officials.
And there's been massive internet outage in and around that area. What would you want to show? I mean, if there was a sonic boom, why try to hide the data? Why? So we have shown some of our videos in the morning when Sumit Peer came on our show at 10 a.m. And you can go back and take a look at that. We have got some visuals that we could show and not get penalized for it. I mean, some of this stuff is pretty gory again. So we only showed some things, but you can make your own, estimation of what happened. The bigger problem is there going to be a radiation leak? And if so, how bad and how many people is it going to affect? That is the question on everybody's minds. What has happened is happened. They will, of course, conduct their own investigation. So now let us take a look at domestic politics. We have already spent about 17 minutes into this show on this one. We have still a fair amount of ground to cover. Viewers, if you have not liked this video, kindly like this video. And if you have not subscribed to our channel, please do so. Shekharji, caste card actually does not provide dividends. Look at what happened to Nitish Kumar. Kurmis have not gone up by 10 digits or 10% or 5% or whatever. It has been the same small number. What exactly does the Congress stand to gain by conducting a caste survey? Right now, they are doing happy. A lot of crypto Christians, which everybody thinks are Hindu, but they are not. So by doing this caste survey, what do they hope to get? The cryptos will still remain cryptos because they are enjoying government benefits. Hindus for 5 days and Christians for 2 days.
Well, Ji, now the latest thing that is happening is the Congress chief ministers have come under tremendous pressure from Rahul Gandhi and his sister Priyanka Gandhi to immediately announce that they will be undertaking caste surveys. So we are seeing that the states which are going to polls, Rajasthan, Chhattisgarh, uh, and of course not Madhya Pradesh. Madhya Pradesh, they are not in power, but in Rajasthan and Chhattisgarh, we are already seeing the chief ministers have been told to make the announcement. So Priyanka Gandhi herself has said in Chhattisgarh today that we will do caste surveys after when Congress comes back to power. And in Rajasthan, Ashok Gehlot was made to say we will undertake caste survey. Now already the Congress has been facing so much of problem from because of the caste configuration in Rajasthan. Now to announce a further surveys, and in Madhya Pradesh, Priyanka Gandhi, among other freebies that she has promised, caste survey is also one of them. And Rahul Gandhi, with his statement, which we had discussed in the last hangout, jiski jitni abadi utni hak, whoever, I mean, the community that has rights, yeah, community's right depends on the numbers it has. Now, already that has provoked a lot of reactions. Even Prime Minister responded to it saying, "So, are you advocating actually a majoritarianism? Because that is a charge against BJP that they encourage rule by majority. And well, democracy is all about rule by majority. But then this with this religious connotation and religious political fallouts, what we are seeing is, sir, Congress somehow seems to be the way they're going at it. They feel that they are now reduced to an OBC party because Rahul Gandhi seems to be at its third end. He doesn't know what can make Prime Minister Modi collapse, what can make the BJP collapse. Will the casting work? Little understanding, I would say, because if any party is highly vandalized today, I am using the word vandalized, it is BJP. Bharatiya Janata Party, the last 2 decades or so, they have completely changed their their outlook, their priorities, and the kind of representation they have in the organization structure. There is a heavy uh, overdosage of leaders belonging to these sections in their setup. So, therefore, for the BJP, it's not an issue. Many analysts have tried to make out that in Bihar they are going to problem because they would have nobody else to support other than that 15% of the unreserved category. But that's not true, because even in Bihar they have tried to take a lot of people from the reserved category. There are a number of Yadav leaders in Bihar BJP today. So therefore, this is going to affect them in a very big way, or in a very damaging way, and that is not true, because BJP has all along played the OBC card, and in fact, the Prime Minister's USP has been that he himself is the tallest OBC leader in the country today. So you can see that, but somehow it has got into the Congress that something that Indira Gandhi never wished to do, something that the Rajiv Gandhi was against. It is Rahul Gandhi who has embraced this for a simple reason. They have no clue as to what can be a mantra to to help the Congress revive. Sir, there is a Tamil saying that எந்த இஞ்சி சாப்பிட்டா பித்தம் தெளியும். I mean, which ginger do I chew so that the pitta, the bile, or in this case, let's say a bad headache or a bad or a nausea, to put it, would go. So similarly, the search is for the ginger. Inji தேடுறாங்க. They are searching for the ginger, so that they have chewed several ginger, nothing is working. Now they are looking for extra special ginger. So this is अदरक ढूंढ रहे हैं. They want कौन सा अदरक चाय पिए कि ताकि सब ठीक हो. So they are just looking at various other things, because they don't realize, sir, in order to emerge as an alternative, you better have a positive agenda. And they have forgotten, sir, the principal thing that I feel, having covered the Congress for a long time, Congress vacated the centrist space. And that's a space that Narasimha Rao, Narasimha Rao would often say that the middle path, the center path. From that, gradually, since Sonia Gandhi took over, they have moved to the left of the center and even further left. And under Rahul Gandhi, it has even taken a radical left turn. And that has not helped exactly gain big numbers. And today, these elections, sir, very unfortunately, all these elections are about freebies, who can give more, what more can you offer? Now, the BJP is also matching. I'm not saying make the life better for the poor people. I mean, reduce, by all means, reduce the price of gas cylinders, reduce a lot of things, but also don't do it in a way at the time of elections just because you have to win elections, and don't promise the moon, because moon is where moon is. Only Chandrayaan can go there. That's all. Otherwise, you can't bring that down. You're already seeing what's happening in states like Karnataka, and even in Tamil Nadu, 1,000 rupee thing, it has now they have just started implementing because elections are coming. Because these are not easier solutions. Yes, you give the deserving some help, hold their hands and make them stand. But this election is all about freebies, sir. It's all about Revdi culture, and BJP is also getting sucked into this thing, because it's my Revdi versus your Revdi, or it is your Revdi versus my local programs.
Sudhir wants to know, sir, बंदर क्या जाने अदरक का स्वाद.
नहीं, अदरक का स्वाद नहीं है. ज्यादा अदरक खा लिया तो बंदर का क्या हाल होगा वो पता होना चाहिए. कम से कम बंदर को तो नहीं पता होना चाहिए, पता नहीं होगा, इनको तो पता होना चाहिए. See, sir, the monkey would not know what ginger is, but it would think that the ginger would help. But what if you chew a lot of ginger, it can have quite a effect. And that's exactly what we are seeing here is in Karnataka, a census report which was done on the populations, that was never released by Siddaramaiah. Now there is a pressure to do it. In fact, there is a pressure to announce these caste surveys, saying that, trying to tell people that we are going to, pull out our hat more jobs for the people after ascertaining the caste. You see, that is a basic thing that they are selling people. That look, if we do the survey, then we can obviously can find out who all need jobs on the basis of their caste and community, and then we'll go about providing those jobs. Basically trying to sell a dream within a dream, And I think this is getting into a difficult situation. But ground reports are, sir, we are into a period where I think sometime next week people are mentioning dates that election commission may announce the timing of the elections to all these four states, because I expect them to be staggered,
Sir,
because
five,
each,
sir. Sir, five states, sir. Add Telangana also. It's
yeah,
also coming on.
Telangana and Mizoram. If you add Mizoram, it is
Yeah,
five states.
5 states. Yeah. I added
Five
Mizoram
states.
also. 5 states.
And
Yeah.
each of these states have their assembly term is expiring at different dates. And for the last two assembly elections, we have seen election commission following a pattern where it doesn't just announce election for all the states. Rather, it wants to be, because that's the argument that the EC has given, which the opposition does not like, which is that the period, the electioneering period, or the date of polling and the expiry of the term should not be a long gap, so that it is not 45 days in one case, it is 60 days in another case, or 70 days on another case. So there could be elections could be staggered, but we are looking at a window somewhere between November 15th and say December 10th for holding of the elections to all these places.
Thank you, sir. And yesterday, India Today published a series of polls. The surprise element there was how close it is in Madhya Pradesh. Both are polling 44%. And now it is like, 19-20 ka fark hai. 114 for Congress and 112 for BJP. I mean, I don't see how that can be accurate. I mean, anything can sway here. And also we have to see from the ground what happens of this Sanatana Dharma effect, because Stalin continues to put his foot in his mouth. And Telangana, they have not yet got the polls. I suspect there'll be a huge bump in favor of BJP there, because of the reaction that took place when Udayanidhi Stalin made that statement. Several
Sir,
temples had put. Yeah, go ahead.
sir, you mentioned about that the close race that is being indicated by the surveys. In fact, Shivraj Singh Chouhan has now played another card. Now he has announced the jobs for women. 35% of jobs would be reserved for women in the government jobs, and particularly in the police force. He has, in fact, at a meeting, he has mentioned that he wants to induct more women in the police force, so that they can be tasked to provide security to women, in particular, handle problems being faced by women in terms of their security and the welfare. And he has also said, when it comes to recruitment of teachers, 50% of the teachers would be women, and they have already amended that Madhya Pradesh public service rules. And so you can see that how the effort to, and women happen to be 48% of Madhya Pradesh voters. Of the 5 crore odd voters in Madhya Pradesh, at least 48% of them are women. So you can see how the battle is. Now, the similar thing can be announced by even the Congress chief ministers like Ashok Gehlot or Bhupesh Baghel of Chhattisgarh. So this is how close it is getting. Where, as I said, your announcement versus my announcement, your promise versus my promise, and hopefully the people think that at least 50% of those promises would be realized, whichever party comes to power.
Thank you, sir. And now let's take a look at what is happening in Tamil Nadu. The ADMK has parted ways with the BJP. Now we are also hearing that the Devendra Kula Velalar group, led by Dr. Krishnaswamy, who was considered to be, looking at BJP as a partner, is also looking at ADMK. Shekharji, you have the latest on this. First of all, Modi ji has solidly backed Annamalai. This is going to shut the mouths of many of the ADMK people now. They can't say that the high headquarters in Delhi, high command in Delhi is not in favor of Annamalai continuing. That reposing of confidence should shut their mouth. They need to figure out a new way. But overall, I thought ADMK stands to lose. Why would Dr. Krishnaswamy start about aligning with ADMK? They don't have a prime ministerial candidate. If anything, they are a spoiler. My 2 cents, sir.
Well, sir, I think what has happened is with Edappadi Palaniswamy also, reiterating the earlier views expressed both by first by Jayakumar, then by Munuswamy after the meeting of their the top leadership. It is becoming very clear to the BJP that there is no point in trying for a rapprochement or trying for a truce with AIDMK. Because AIDMK has made up its mind because of the a very important factor is the 12% minorities in Tamil Nadu. And we have debated at length as to what could have been all the reasons for ADMK parting company with the BJP. But what is coming across clear to the BJP leaders also, there were many Tamil Nadu BJP leaders who went to Delhi trying to impress the leadership that it is Annamalai's leadership that has caused this problem. But I think it is coming out very clear that Annamalai's Padyatra was sanctioned by the Prime Minister, blessed by the Prime Minister, and the agenda that was set also had the approval of the Prime Minister. So, therefore, if there are problems with Annamalai's pronouncement during the Yatra, perhaps a little could have been avoided so that the alliance was not put in a jeopardy. But it is also coming clear that BJP has to plow a lonely furrow. There is no way about it. And if you are getting the ground reports as to some of the allies who were there in NDA along with the AIDMK, if they are looking at the possibilities, I think all the alliance partners in DMK led alliance and alliance partners in who were there in whatever was NDA, they are all looking at the possibilities as to what can happen. And sir, Dr. Krishnaswamy also even said that I am not just only a supporter of Prime Minister Modi, I am a supporter of RSS. He even said that also.
Shekharji, see, this is Kurukshetra, right? Dharmakshetre, Kurukshetra. What Annamalai did by way of his speeches, sir, I beg to differ with you on this, is he has felled one opponent without, fighting even one person, without even opening or taking out the sword from his sheath. Why I say that is because there has been proven track record of the ADMK rank and file answering one question. And it is a catchy name. I'll explain to you in English afterwards. 𝙒𝙧𝙤𝙀 versus �द्ராவிடம் means देश के लिए, द्राविड़ के लिए. This Dravid is the one that they have defined it. Ask every ADMK rank and file, what would you choose between these two? Therein lies the answer, Shekharji. I will tell you, Coimbatore is one of the more pro-BJP prone states. Areas. Kongu Nadu, right? I always strike up conversations wherever I go with people on the street, people who are bussing me around, driving me around, all that. They all say BJP is good, but they will impose Hindi on us. Annamalai hasn't countered that. This is another problem. People are saying that if BJP is equal to Hindi imposition, where did they get that idea? Why isn't the BJP trying to break this with statistics showing how many DMK leaders, how many ADMK leaders have how many schools, and out of these schools, how many are imparting Hindi education? Game, set and match over, sir, if they can provide this data.
Sir, this Hindi business, it is not that Annamalai has not been unable to counter. The problem is the BJP leadership doesn't want to compromise on that. Whether it is Home Minister Amit Shah or other people. In fact, I am told the Prime Minister Modi himself is not very particular that we should be pushing this, official language, Hindi part of it so much because of the sensitivities involved. But it is Amit Shah who is very, very keen that, notwithstanding whatever is happening in the south to this, that we must have, sooner or later, Hindi as a kind of a link language. And that is why you saw when the amendments that were brought, rather for a new Indian Penal Code and Indian new Criminal Procedure Code, they were all named in Hindi. And even our Hindi walas have difficulty in remembering what was that, Sanshodhan and all that stuff, of course, when in the courts and all, people will continue to refer as IPC and CRPC. So, consequently, a lot of new things that is sought to be brought now that we're going to select committee and there will be wider debate on the proposed changes to the criminal law. But the fact that Amit Shah does not miss a chance to send a message that look, we cannot be in that colonial mindset, cannot be just using English. But the practical problem side of it is, yes, you are right that sometimes, I've asked many BJP leaders as to look, if you have a political agenda in the south, I said, look, for instance, people of Karnataka, a lot of them can follow Hindi. People of Andhra Pradesh can also, particularly those who are closer to, I mean, then erstwhile Andhra Pradesh. But today in Andhra Pradesh, in many parts of coastal Andhra Pradesh, they cannot follow Hindi. I've had my own personal experience because I cannot speak Telugu. And English is no longer the link language between a non-Telugu speaker and a Telugu speaker in interior parts of Andhra Pradesh. Telangana is a different case. Karnataka is a different case. In Kerala, well, they can understand if you speak Hindi because it is taught in schools, but they cannot speak Hindi because they are not used to that Hindi. Of course, Tamil Nadu is a very pathetic situation, as you mentioned. The children of elite families, they go to schools where the Hindi is taught, so they can speak Hindi. And a lot of those Hollywood people, the film stars and all, they pick up Hindi for the simple reason for better market, so that they can also get an opening in the Bollywood. So they do try to understand. They do that, but the whole thing is that in Tamil Nadu also it has been taken to such extreme position where the Tamil youths are having difficulty. It is not, see, those from Kerala or Andhra Pradesh or Telangana, they, since they have studied Hindi, they don't have difficulty if they have to look for job outside the state. But definitely for Tamil youths, it is big problem. Then
Sir,
they are not even,
our
sir, along with the anti-Hindi, they have not, they have neglected English also. They have neglected Tamil also. So
yes, yes.
consequently, they cannot speak or write in any language.
Sir, our editor Sharp Eyed, he has just put out a tweet by DMK IT wing. They are looking for content writers who can write in Tamil, English, and Hindi. Shekharji, one way to capture the hearts of non-Hindi speaking people is by making good Hindi movies. Sir, 1969, Aradhana really captured the imagination of people. There were many musical hits before that. Yet, Aradhana somehow had that personal one-on-one romance, if you want to call it, the music, the lyrics, whatever it is. Everybody was singing the songs of Aradhana. So Bollywood right now is some other thing centric. Why can't
Sir,
Mr. Amit Shah and
Bollywood is
Modi?
really, sir, Bollywood is reeling under Natu Natu, sir. The South Indians directors have taken over. It is the originals which are doing very well with Hindi subtitles or with Hindi dubbing. I mean, with Hindi dubbing rather. So, in fact, for all these big filmmakers, Shah Rukh Khan, your Amir Khan, they were in a state of shock when Natu Natu made it to the top honors. So you
It even
can,
won the awards in Oscar, right? It won
yes,
Oscar
yes.
award also, right?
So,
Yeah.
so that's what I'm saying. Look, in terms of creativity, it comes coming with new ideas and new films. The southern filmmakers are, a class apart, and they're doing very well. And since imitation is a kind of a flattery in the cinema world, so so you can see that the Hindi itself is not a problem, but the whole idea is politics is also playing part. Sir, for instance, when Siddaramaiah, definitely made it an issue, if you remember, in the last elections, not this one, the previous election, where he objected to Bengaluru Metro having Hindi names. Now, this kind of attempt to, somehow kindle these feelings doesn't work. Now, as for why the DMK ITV wants Hindi content writers, is it to explain their stand on Sanatan Dharma to the Hindi audience? Do they need some Hindi content writers? That's a question that everyone would like to know. I mean, rather the answer to that question.
Thank you so much, sir. And now let's take a few questions. First one from Srinivas Jayaprakash. Sir, the mood of BJP cadres is low in Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Telangana, and Andhra Pradesh. No alliance and lack of motivation is killing the supporters. What can central leadership do to crack the equation in the south?
Sir, if nobody wants to marry you, what can you do? You have to be a lone ranger until somebody comes along, and that will not happen until you are not seen as a loser. You are not seen as a somebody who is, also ran. And if you are dependent on a major regional player, then obviously, you are in a situation where the main regional player will treat you shabbily, and that is happening now. That is why I think the Prime Minister has also realized that whether we win one seat or two seat in Tamil Nadu, or we don't win a seat, at least let us register our presence and continue pursue our goal, because that is more important. Of course, a final call or a final picture has not emerged in Tamil Nadu, and as I said earlier also, that all parties are in a state of wait. They would like to see how the assembly elections uh, produce results, particularly Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Telangana, as to what, and Chhattisgarh, as to what is the position of the BJP vis-a-vis Congress. Who is gaining, who is losing? Of course, in 2018 we saw Congress win all the assembly elections, these very elections, but the Lok Sabha it was vote for Modi. So that could be a repeat of a similar situation. But the battle is getting tough. Madhya Pradesh also. Madhya Pradesh, they say that look, it's really tough. And in Chhattisgarh, a similar scenario. It is Rajasthan that looks easier for BJP. And Mizoram, I just saw the report saying that some MNF leaders are also joining BJP because MNF parted company, citing the Manipur crisis.
Next question, please. Pawan Kishore wants to know, Namaskaram, sir. Do you think will BJP be able to win Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh with all the drama of caste census picking up, especially in Congress-ruled states?
Well, sir, it is not that the Congress is in a great shape in these states, either Madhya Pradesh or Rajasthan. Of course, in Chhattisgarh, I would say that the BJP did not do enough in the last 5 years to build itself, rather to rebuild itself. That's why you are facing a crisis of leadership in Chhattisgarh. But in comes to Maharashtra, I mean to Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan. Now, again, Ashok Gehlot and Sachin Pilot, they are not in best of terms again, because Ashok Gehlot has been making remarks as to, Sachin Pilot is, part of the high command. He is one who is going to decide ticket. A side of remarks. Those are ultra dig remarks at Sachin Pilot. Now, so that, I mean, that is not also clear. Or also the fact that Ashok Gehlot probably realizes that it's going to be indeed very, very difficult for him to return as chief minister, and for the Congress to return to power itself. So you can see that you can sense it. It is in Madhya Pradesh where Shivraj Singh Chouhan remains a popular leader, but he also suffers from the fact that a lot of anti-communist issues are involved in Madhya Pradesh. He has been around for last 19 years. I mean, that's a long time in politics to be in one post. He has done a lot too. He has an OBC image. He has executed several welfare schemes. But the fact that he has done 4 terms as chief minister, and that absolutely leaves. And of course, the other argument is Kamal Nath is a great organizer, but that he doesn't appear to belong to Madhya Pradesh. Essentially, he's a Calcutta-based businessman who made it big in the Delhi politics because of his friendship with Sanjay Gandhi, because they are supposed to have attended the same Doon school. So that is how Kamal Nath's foray into the Congress top grade entry was because of his friendship to Sanjay Gandhi. Then his name figured during the horrible 1984 riots, and several times, Kamal Nath name figured along with Jagdish Titler. But then Kamal Nath, I am told, has somehow has ensured that there was not a single witness who has ever said about seeing Kamal Nath being involved in the riots. That is something that the Kamal Nath, they say that it is because of Kamal Nath's ability to stay out of trouble. But beyond that, Kamal Nath is also a person who is underwriting the expense of these elections in Madhya Pradesh. He is taking care of all the cost that would be undertaken by the Congress party for these assembly elections. So that is why they cannot but project him as a chief minister candidate. That's where it is, because beyond his own constituency, he has not been able to make a big remark as a pan Madhya Pradesh leader. So, and also strategy, we have seen BJP had announced that it was asking its union ministers and even party general secretary to contest elections. Sir.
Shekharji, we have a fair amount of questions, and I'm wondering if you could extend it by 10 minutes, sir. We are still 15 minutes into the program. By any chance, if it extends, please, if you don't mind, we may have a few minutes overflow. Thank you, sir. And Venkatraman Narayan wants to know, did Hamas take advantage of the political instability in Israel? And more importantly, is this not an intelligence failure? What are the lessons India can take from this development?
Venkatramanji, you are right, because there has been a lot of political instability since the last elections through a hung Israeli parliament. And subsequent to that, there has been a lot of left liberal voices in Israel who have been opposed to Netanyahu's policies. That has resulted in Israeli society, it appeared, divided. Earlier, the impression was that Israeli society is united when it comes to protecting its interests, protecting its borders, protecting its security. Somewhere along, the politics has overtaken, and in fact, many people say it is this concept of the left liberalism, and which has badly hurt Israel in terms of political stability. And Netanyahu's move to bring great big judicial reforms, that also met with a lot of resistance. Some of his aligned partners were also not very happy, and then Netanyahu decided to put it on hold. But these are issues which I've seen that, look, Israel as a democracy which requires that Israel act unitedly against its common enemies. But what we have seen there also reminds us as to how our political parties, particularly the opposition parties, never back the government when it comes to serious security issues. Take, for instance, Article 370. It is another matter. Some parties supported the government, but by and large, the main opposition are still harking on return to a situation where you have a state within your country which has a different thing, because this assimilation should have happened long ago. And today, removal of Article 370, of course, Supreme Court has reserved judgment. It had heard all the parties, but in the course of the hearing itself, one got the impression that Apex Court has realized uh, all the dimensions of this Article 370, the problems it posed, why it had to be removed. So, well, we'll have to await the verdict as to whether this measure was constitutional or not. Now, apart from that, I think a bigger lesson to be learnt is that every country has to decide how long can it go on, in a perpetually be in a state of war. So Gaza Strip itself, they were earlier Israeli forces that fully occupied it. Then they realized cost of, that cost was, higher than having having keeping a watch on Gaza and let Gaza being administered by Hamas. Now, today they have realized that the despite their watch, despite their complete surveillance and things like that, and they call the Iron Dome kind of technology and all that, that there has been a steady infiltration of Palestinians from other parts who have gone to Gaza, and they have carried weapons, they have carried armaments, and they have carried all components to manufacture and mount rockets against Israel. I mean, this is a very big eye opener.
And viewers, tomorrow we'll be at with Sumit Peer at 10 a.m. Sunday morning 10 a.m. We're going to be discussing the Israel conflict in some detail. So do join us for that. And we have given you the latest update as of now. And do come back for that one. We'll have more information by that time. Also, we will touch upon what happened in Pakistan too. Subramanian Vishwanathan wants to know, why parties clamor for caste census when it can only create instability, poor governance, and poverty?
Well, Subramaniam ji, it is not all parties. It is parties, particularly parties who feel that Hindutva is a powerful weapon with the BJP. If the Hindu society is united by a political design, then it hurts these parties which are entirely based on caste. Backward class, Dalit class, most extremely backward class, and particularly the BR-based parties or even Uttar Pradesh parties, without realizing that, look at the problem that is already being faced in states like Maharashtra, Gujarat, and Haryana. The dominant castes, whether it is Marathas in Maharashtra or Jats in Haryana or Patidars in Gujarat, they want reservation. Now, they want jobs because they say that though their communities are heavily dependent on agriculture, but agriculture returns have been on a diminishing spree, and therefore they are looking for a government job and they want something steady every month. I mean, this is a reason for whether it is Maratha community or whether it is Jats or even Patidar. So there are bigger problems, but they feel the only way to contain BJP's Hindutva, the umbrella political ideology, is to re-emphasize caste, if necessary, rekindle the caste identity politics, and even if it results in a kind of a frenzy and also in a situation like where things could go out of hand in terms of caste clashes, they don't mind it because they feel this is the only way they can fight the BJP. Because nobody is saying to stop reservation. Reservations are going to continue. But you also know, even if you increase the quantum of reservation, which would be an obvious fallout of the caste surveys, even then, all the members of a particular community are not going to benefit from reservation. So there will still be people who would be unhappy. Then there is a concept of creamy layer. Now, these parties which are dependent on OBC votes, they are even against application of creamy layer. So there are several things, and nobody dare ask for an examination of the current reservation policy in India. Who is getting benefited? How does it run? Are we getting enough people from those communities for whom seats or positions are reserved? These questions nobody wants to ask. I think just before the Bihar elections in 2010, RSS chief Mohan Bhagwat, called for some kind of a review or to understand how we are implementing this. That turned into such a big firestorm, and finally, the RSS had to clarify, the BJP had to clarify that they are not opposed to reservation, but they would like to look at these measures and see whether people are getting the benefit. The people who need to be benefited should get the benefit.
Thank you, sir. Next question, please. Please have some water, sir. Your throat is running dry.
Thank you. Is this a suggestion from our the man behind us, Sachin?
Yes, yes, yes. The man who's pulling all the strings. We are mere pawns in his hands.
Wow. Yes, sir.
Trey Jones wants to know, given the strong fiscal position, could central government ease the ongoing weather-related rural distress with one-time climate DBT payouts prior to Lok Sabha 2024?
But instead of payouts, I think probably that Kisan Nidhi, there is already a scheme that is 6,000 rupees is paid just before the harvest season to meet the immediate pressures. Maybe that amount could be increased because already a payment is made twice in a year for the two types of crops. Maybe that amount could get increased probably when the next budget is presented, which could be an election budget. So,
Next one, please. Kota Murthy wants to know, Shekharji, sir, India supported Israel when Israelis are killed. Why India is not fighting terrorists across Pakistan border where Indians are dying every day? We're talking about the discrimination and essentially forced conversion and killing of Hindus and minorities, I should say, minorities in Pakistan.
well, we sent a message across with Balakot. Balakot strike was a big game changer, and since then, in terms of um, I would not say that it has stopped terrorism or acts of terrorism, but definitely the kind of the scale that you saw is not happening. But at the same time, these desperate terrorist groups want to pick innocent people, the migrant workers, to show that look, we are still around and we can be as nasty as ever. But definitely, in terms of the network, in terms of organization, it's not as before when Article 370 was in operation. And but then the price is eternal vigilance. Our army and other security forces continue to undertake measures in Jammu Kashmir or in the northeast also. And recently, that standoff we saw in South Kashmir, where they went and occupied a cave, and the operations had to go on for more than 3 4 days. So we are in that stage where we cannot lose our guard. And as I said at the beginning of our today's hangout, what has happened in Israel has woken us up. At least our security establishment has woken up to the fact that that could be very, very nasty surprises, because those who are determined to create trouble, they have not forgotten their agenda. They may appear to be lying low, but they strike, they will. So I think that message has come across as to what has happened in Israel.
Next question is a good one, touching upon what we just mentioned. Will Israel also, thank you, Maya. Will Israel also face threat from Hezbollah on the other side? Then Syria, Lebanon, terrible situation for Israel. But in comments on all channels, the peacefuls are once again playing victim card.
Indeed, I mean, I've been watching the coverage which is coming, from Gaza. They're talking about women and children. They're talking about, without realizing, those who fired those rockets should have thought of their women and children first, which they have not done. But every time there is a narrative that is easily accepted, saying that Israel is the villain, and it is these terrorists who are using women and children and their suffering consequent to retaliatory strikes as a kind of a shield to hide their own acts. Now, the question is, as I mentioned earlier, everyone expects the Hezbollah to also open up the north border. If that were to come, the Israel would be forced to move into even bigger. I mean, rather to use all its resources for a bigger conflict of a bigger magnitude. Because this time, I think the mood in the government of Israel and among the people of Israel is that this Hamas business has to be stopped forthwith and once for all.
Next one, please. Chaitanya Takle wants to know who is the major funding entity for Hamas?
Well, the suspicion has been, of course, Iran. There were sometimes even suspicions whether Saudis were involved. At least some Saudi entities were involved, and then also there
Qatar?
are Qatar is a leading figure, because Qatar is never happy with Saudis improving the relation with Israel, or UAE improving relation with Israel. So that is factor, and also there could be other countries. Even countries like Turkey. The people are not saying that Turkey is above board. They could also be involved in somehow, uh, trying to keep the pot boiling in this part of the world.
Next question, please. Yuri wants to know, do you think these celebrations will spread to India in turn and create riots like situations in India? Is Vishwaguru riding lion prepared for this?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, that we also have to be very, very vigilant, because we are heading towards an election year. And because we are heading towards election year, these forces get very, very active, the anti-India forces, because they feel that whichever way it helps to show a strong government in a weaker light, they would prefer that. And that is the reason why I said that authorities are also stepping up vigil and stepping up extreme guard. And this is the festive season. Normally, the drill in cities like Delhi is that Nakabandi comes up, there are roadblocks set up, causing huge jams in Delhi. This is the season that is about to start before the Durga Puja and the Deepavali. So this is a normal time when authorities are always on guard. But what we have to realize is that these terrorist groups, are very, very determined. I mean, they are on such a suicidal course. It doesn't matter what happens to them, but they are very keen to inflict maximum damage. So therefore, the price is eternal vigilance. And despite that, we have seen how Israel is known for protecting its territory, protecting its people. Even there, this thing has happened. So that's a big eye opener for us. That technology is not enough, vigilance is not enough, and if you can solve a situation, can solve a problem, a festering problem, do solve it. But then will be other players who will not let you solve the problem.
Next question, please. Kesar wants to know, it's for me, who is supplying weapons to Hamas? Was Mossad unaware of such an attack? Kesar, that's why I said at the beginning itself that this is something that Mossad probably was not looking at, which points to possibly what happened between China and Hamas on July 15th, 2023, just a few months ago. I'm not saying that China is involved, that China brought in the weapons, that they smuggled in the weapons. But if you look at the machine guns that they are using, the rockets they are firing, and to have all this happen from Iran would have been the first target, first suspect. So Israel would have been keeping very close eye on Iran. So if you take out Iran as a possible supplier, who does it leave? Could be Turkey, like Shekharji is saying, but I kind of doubt that Turkey is doing it because Turkey and Iran also don't get along too well. Both think that they should be leading the Islamic world, because remember, Caliphate, Mr. What's his name, Erdogan thinks that he is the Caliph. So Iran might disagree with that. One is Sunni, the other is Shia. So there are lots of other things also. So I don't know. At the same time, the fact that this has gone undetected for this long and a surprise. There are pictures of the Israeli soldiers still sleeping in their bunkers and in their undershorts, being surprised, and they didn't even have time to pick up their gun, which was by their side, while they were ambushed. So this is a very serious situation. We have to wait and see how Israel counters it, and then afterwards how it will deter any future attacks. Next question,
But
please.
I wanted to add a bit that as to the involvement of China, now can China afford an unstable, West Asia, because China is also dependent on oil imports from these places. Would China really allow a situation or be a create a trigger for a situation which will ultimately affect, oil supplies? So that is why, and China is heavily dependent on fossil fuel from West Asia.
Yeah, you're right, sir. It's possible, but what I don't understand is this serious military intelligence failure on part of Israel. Israel is the number one intelligence agency in the world, and if somebody can, pull wool over their eyes, I mean, India is much more vulnerable. Next question from Kushanan Keshav. Caste survey is another attempt by Congress to break India and create clashes within. Your views on this?
Well, their idea is that BJP's Hindutva should be broken up. I mean, it is all the caste-based parties they feel that to apni dukaan band ho jayegi. So the whole idea is that our shop should also continue, because as Rahul Gandhi says, नफरत की बाजार में मोहब्बत की दुकान. So in that the whole political part is this, that they think that caste consciousness should be revived, caste label should be revived. I am not saying you have a more scientific way of looking at reservation and see that the people whose hands have to be held, we have to be held. But there is definitely a political motive that is going on without realizing the consequences of pursuing such surveys. Because if ultimately you have figures, and those figures require government to fine tune its reservation policies and increase the quota for certain communities, will other communities who are covered under reservation, will they accept that situation? Then what happens then?
Next question, please. Jahangir Gota, thank you so much. Jahangir Gotla, thank you so much. What will it take for sleepy Hindus to stand with BJP and above freebies? BJP should make freebie promises too. Must be Hindi plus regional languages.
Yes, I mean, they've already, you have seen that some of the announcements by Shivraj Singh Chouhan, then further reduction in the price of cylinder being provided to the very poor people. So all these you can see that, because as BJP leaders often say, "Hum thodi ashram chalate hain." We don't run ashrams. We run political parties, and our parties will have to win elections. So, we, so they have to be as flexible as possible when it comes to the issue of freebies. Though Prime Minister is personally against just opening the purse strings simply to win elections.
Next one, please. Rajendra Dubey, Shekhar sir, what will be the position of Congress in 2024 MP election?
Compared to other states, Congress is supposed to be in more fighting formation in Madhya Pradesh. Because even in the last election...
Oh, no, not Madhya Pradesh, sir. I think he means 2024 Lok Sabha election.
Lok Sabha election. Well, it all depends on where they can, really increase their vote share, because they are hoping that somehow these assembly elections in this end of this year would give some kind of a narrative. Though in 2018 it did not. In 2018, Congress won in all these three important states: Rajasthan, Chhattisgarh, and Madhya Pradesh. Yet in 2019, BJP came to power with even larger majority and winning a lot of seats from these states. So there is no guarantee, but at the same time, it feels that it has managed to get a lot of parties on board in the name of India Alliance. Therefore, the opposition votes would not be divided, and consequently, BJP will have a tough time. But there are so many ifs and buts in this formulation, and Congress itself need to grow very big way in states like Uttar Pradesh, in states like Bihar, in states like, of course, Madhya Pradesh and other places. Without that, Congress cannot be anywhere near the striking distance of forming an alternative government in Delhi post 2024.
Next question, please. Mr. Chandra Sivaramakrishna Vadlapudi wants to know, why don't BJP just go for Sanskrit as compulsory language from LKG instead of Hindi, along with regional language plus English?
Well, Sree Iyerji, that would even be a more furor over Sanskrit, because
Sir,
already
this
there
should
are.
have been done. Sir, this should have been done in 1947 when you are turning a new leaf, new page. And Chandrasekhar, today what has happened? Sir, please you finish your answer. I have a few things to add.
No, what I said was, Sanskrit is also a popular subject. I mean, it's not that Sanskrit is not being studied by our school children in schools. In fact, when we were in school, it used to be said, if you take Sanskrit, it's a good mark fetching subject, because you have to, give the very concise replies to the questions, and the full marks would be awarded. So that is how a lot of us got to know a smattering of Sanskrit. Of course, the emphasis was on scoring marks rather than learning such a beautiful language. Now, what is happening today is that along with the other regional languages, Sanskrit is being encouraged. There are a lot of funds now available for teaching of Sanskrit, for propagation of Sanskrit, for publication of books in Sanskrit, and also to provide e-learning through Sanskrit. So a lot of projects are going on. But at the same time, Sanskrit is not a practical language of communication. So the reason that it has a heritage value, of course, it has a lot of spiritual value. Lot of our very important scriptures and texts that are full of Advaitic Vedantic wisdom is in Sanskrit. But at the same time, it's not a language people can look at it as a kind that will help them in their day-to-day life or in their career. So,
Sir, I just want to add one little thing. Especially in Tamil Nadu, what they said was, if somebody says Sanskrit, then that person is a Brahmin, hate Sanskrit. This is also a theory that has been peddled. So these people are duffers, dummies. They don't understand that Kalidasa, one of the greatest poets in Sanskrit, was a woodcutter. In fact, the story goes that a certain princess was so proud of her knowledge that she said that only somebody who can answer some of my questions will be considered or deemed worthy of my hand in marriage. Now, the ministers around this princess realized that she needed to be taught a lesson. So they went to the forest, found a woodcutter. He was good looking, and they coached him. They literally coached him that this is if this gets asked, answer this way. If this gets asked, answer this way, and so on and so forth. And this guy was a good, parroter. He goes there, he answers the questions, and he wins the hand of the princess. After marriage, she finds out how limited his knowledge is, and she starts dissing him left and right. He's very unhappy. So he comes to Devi one night in a temple, and he says, why have you made me this way? I didn't ask for it. Somebody promised me some money. I went and did this thing. But look, today I stand totally discredited. Why did you put me through this? And he sleeps at the Murti's feet. The next day morning, suddenly, when the priest comes in, he starts listening to pure Sanskrit being spoken by Kalidasa. This is called Shyamala Dandakam. Manikya Veena Mupalalayanti Madalasa Manjula Vatvilasa Madhendra Jyoti Komalangi, Matanga Kanya Manasa Swarami. See how it starts? Every main word starts with the letter Ma. And the priest is amazed. I know this fellow. He couldn't put two letters together, and suddenly he has become a Sanskrit scholar. So that's where he's realized that the Devi has bestowed upon him this knowledge. Why I'm saying all this is, when people are being accused that, oh, if you know Sanskrit or if you are promoting Sanskrit, you must be Brahmin, the Brahmin should have told them the facts. Neither Valmiki was a Brahmin, nor Vyasa was a Brahmin, nor was Kalidasa. These are some of the biggest exponents of the language Sanskrit. So somewhere effectively communication has been dropped, and that is why we find ourselves in this situation. They are not even accepting Hindi, my friend. Where are they going to accept Sanskrit? It is very sad. Next one, please. Thanks for educating us about the scholarship. Yeah, that would definitely help if people know that they can make some money and at the same time also learn the language. See, the testing is still in English. Remember, you learn Sanskrit, but the testing, the answers you write, your question paper will be in English and you answer also in English, not in Sanskrit. That spoken verbal communication also has to get into the part of that particular class program. Like the way the Samskrita Bharati does today. From day one, you're speaking in Sanskritam. There is no other language to teach Sanskritam. That's what needs to happen. Next one, please. Jayagopal Venkatraman wants to know, Shekharji, is BJP taking notice of huge conversions taking place in Andhra Pradesh? How to stop this menace?
Well, not just in Andhra Pradesh, sir, in the various states, including Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, Punjab. Sir, Punjab is a place where a lot of groups are very, very active, trying to lure Dalits communities to convert. And it's a known thing. And previously, this was, noticed, and even the matters reached New Delhi, where then state governments were told to be little more vigilant in allowing groups to, lure the poor into conversion by offering money and things like that.
Thank you so much, sir. That brings us to a close of today's program. Please do join us back in a few hours when we talk about the Israel problem on Hindi channel of ours with Sumit Pirji. Shekharji, thank you so much, sir. And we'll be back again very soon. Shekharji will be on his Hindi broadcast on Wednesday. And we will let you know what the topics are going to be closer to the program. Thank you so much. Please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to click on the bell button for notifications. Thank you.